Welcome to the Barbell Strikes Back. I'm James McDermott, joined by Miguel Porter. Miguel, we were just talking about it. We are surviving the snow apocalypse, so we're safe. We're indoors.
Yeah, thankfully we both got garages too.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I see, it's always one of those expense things. I pay for two spots, so I don't want to have someone parking next to me crazy or rubbing up against my car, or they keep a lot of garbage in there because my neighbors have garbage that literally just float. I don't understand it. It's like they're literally treating their garage like a dumpster. But so I all the time I'm like, maybe I should just take that off my monthly rent bill. And until days like today or other days when we get storms where I'm like, I don't have to worry about my car at all. I don't have to move it. I don't have to wipe it off unless it's at the gym. It's great. I love it.
Yeah. Now, leaving the gym this morning after class, I had to obviously like brush off and then worry about the snow on the drive home. But as I got closer to home, it was like, okay, I my car won't even have to touch snow. Any snow that's on right now will melt when it's in the garage. And the next time I leave here, I won't have to brush it off or worry about anything else. So,
Yeah.
happy with that.
Yep, it's totally worth it, and even other times a year, it's worth it when it's raining and like you got to get stuff in your car. At least you have that dry spot, and just uh, during the Fourth of July when they are out there in the parking lot setting off fireworks and stuff. I know my car is not being messed with. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Right now I'm getting robbed. Actually, my window's getting busted out. Someone's going to be in there for warmth, but. Yeah, so it's we'll see what happens with it. We may have a snow day tomorrow. We may not. Our barbell club meeting is far enough into the day where hey, we can still do it. But then
Yep.
again, I don't know. Everyone's situation on the snow. Like, might still be some people still might be digging their cars out. Whatnot.
Hmm.
That I remember. What we used to have it's called a formal. Did you go to any of the old Albany CrossFit parties, or was that way before your time? Might have been way
I
before
think
your
that's
time.
before me. Yeah.
Okay. There was one that we held in February. Is the Albany CrossFit Winter Formal, where you got all fancy dressed up, in a suit. It was at a hotel, and we did like awards and all kinds of stuff. And the day or two before that, we had a huge storm, and my Jeep was, because of the plows coming through and being stuck on Madison, no, not Madison, Washington Ave is where I was parked. It was all the way up to the top of the Jeep. So it's like 5 feet of snow just packed around it. And I spent most of that day just digging out. And the nice thing
Yep.
is, when you do have a Jeep, you only do have to dig out to a certain point until you can just roll right over it. And be like, well, I'm
Mhm.
not clearing out the rest, the rest of
Yeah.
that. But if I had a car close to the ground, now I do have to dig all of it out.
Yep.
That was the benefit of having a Jeep. I miss having a Jeep. Maybe someday I'll
Mm.
go back to Jeep life. I am envious of Mike's Jeep Wrangler. I've always wanted a Jeep Wrangler. Never
Yeah.
got one though.
Especially in moments like this where it's like you don't
Yeah,
even have to really think too much
yeah,
about your car, at least.
yeah. No, I remember. We used to in days like this. I've driven in weather like this before, going back and forth to SUNY Cortland, because we would go from Afton, New York, which is about 45 minutes closer to Albany from Binghamton, and drive all the way up to Cortland, and it's like two different worlds, because we'd be in Afton and it'd be fine. Then all of a sudden you pass a threshold going up towards Cortland, and it's just instantly white like this.
Mm.
And it was always right when we got to campus, then we would notice, 15 minutes ago or 20 minutes ago, that's when the professor's like, no class today.
Yep.
And then we'd have to have so many conversations on like, hey, we're coming from like 2 hours away, 90 minutes away. If you could please like just send out that notice the night before, a little earlier.
Hmm.
Never. We got there for so many classes that were never going to happen.
Yep.
Always annoying. But anyways, speaking of cars, little car segue here. I watched Ford v Ferrari the other day.
Hmm.
Awesome movie. I mean, it's not my subject at all, like cars and racing and stuff like that. But the performances were awesome. Matt Damon and Christian Bale were great. And right at the beginning, I was hooked in by this quote that Matt Damon's character says right in the beginning of it, and it sounded so much like weightlifting. So let me read it to you, and then we can talk about it a little bit. But he says, "There's a point at 7,000 RPM where everything fades. The machine becomes weightless, just disappears, and all that's left is a body moving through space and time. 7,000 RPM, that's where you meet it. It asks you a question. The only question that matters. Who are you?" Oh, that's good.
Hmm.
That's good. That's totally weightlifting. Not the fact that not like a body like okay, there's like some imagery there like a body moving through space and time. There's a certain point in the lift where it does become weightless. Like, and isn't that like a funny thing? Like when you're first learning the lifts, there's like this mythological feeling, this thing that you're chasing, and you'll never really know what it is until one day you pull with perfect balance and you have perfect timing and you have a great execution of your own personal strength and speed. And you also have the mental fortitude to essentially tune and phase everything out. And you're just in the moment with the barbell and your own movement. You don't even hear the music. You don't see other people moving in front of you. Everything just kind of connects and aligns. And you get under the bar and you kind of wake up a little bit and you're like, how did I get here? What happened? And then you stand up and you drop it and it felt like nothing had ever felt before. It's a magical moment that that even when you do it for so long, you're still kind of chasing the ultimate expression of that. Like I'm sure you and others in the barbell club feel it most sessions. You're like, oh, there it is. You're kind of at the fuzzy end of it, right? But then there's also times where like you go to the maximum of whatever that feeling is, and so it's just a cool thing. And it's like, do you remember that time where you would maybe hear stuff like that, and then but you don't understand it until finally, one day you're like, oh, that's what the snatch is actually supposed to feel like. That's what a clean and jerk is.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting, and maybe it is like an ever evolving thing, but I think because it's like if you hear about it, there are points where as you're improving, you go, "Oh, was that it?" And maybe you think you had it until you actually get it, and then you go, "Oh, that's the act." I think it's that. What do they say about crows and ravens? Like, if you have to ask, it's a crow.
Oh,
Because ravens are just huge.
yeah.
But I think it's similar, like with those feelings where sometimes you might think, like, "Oh, was that it?" But when you get it, like you fully know, like, "Oh, that was the feeling." Yeah.
Yeah. And it's motivating, right? It's very similar to like that feeling of getting a PR. And at a certain point, you might have to like get as close as you can to that feeling to hit a PR. But they're also so different because I've hit so many PRs that I was just like kind of indifferent about. But I've had lifts where I'm like, man, that's the dragon I'm chasing. Like that's like it's like a high. It's like you're like, oh, I need to feel that again. But the only way I can feel that again is to come back in tomorrow and to do. And I don't even know how many X reps I have to do to feel that again. How many weeks, days, and months is it gonna take? What will it be in training? Will it be at a meet? So it's just a funny thing on how like it's hard to compare it to other feelings that you might get.
Yeah. Yeah. I I used to compare it to like a black flash in Jujutsu Kaisen.
Mm-hmm.
where it's like you can't think too much about it. You can't necessarily control when it's going to happen. Like maybe you can, but it's like one of those things where the probability of it is kind of up in the air as well. But you can almost like, essentially what I'm saying is like your potential almost like increases after you hit one of those.
Yeah.
So you may not hit it on your PR, but like for me, if I hit it at like 80 or 85 and I was like, that one was perfect, I'm fairly confident that I might get to like those PR numbers because I'm like,
Yeah.
you're hitting heavier percentages the perfect way. We can't really ask for anything better beyond that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it drives you from one lift to the next. It's like you might feel it or like get like close to it on like, let's say at 80 or something. And then you're like, oh, if I just, you know what? If I just like tune this one thing out, I think I could get there. Like, are you have you been through this enough where you can almost start to feel those days coming where it's like, oh, maybe I could change what I'm doing a little bit to get there. Like, all right, instead of like, just as an example, sometimes you turn your stool away and you're not looking at the rest of the team. And there's a lot of reasons why that might be going on. But like, is there ever a moment where you're like, oh, wait a minute, today might be one of those days. I need no distractions. I'm not engaging in the conversation that's going on in the room. I'm just going to be staring at the wall or the corner in between my rest or and sets and stuff. Is this something that you can notice coming on and kind of manipulate things?
Yeah, I think so. To an extent, I think it almost has to be unintentional. Like it has
Mm-hmm.
to be like intentionally unintentional. Because I think sometimes you can almost put too much influence in, or like too much intentionality in trying to tune everything out, that itself becomes a distraction.
Mm-hmm.
Versus the times where you are just fully in the zone, where like maybe in my mind, every time I'm going to sit down, I am turning away from everybody else, but then I'm like really getting into it. So I don't even need to anymore. Or like I forget to because that was an
Yeah.
intentional thing I was doing. And now I'm just like, all right, I'm in my own head, just calm, just going through it. I can just sit down, whatever. The only thing, maybe there's even nothing really going through my head. And sometimes that's what you need.
Yeah. And it's funny, like all that, like if you, the more experience you have, it's almost like the more things you need to have go right to get to that point. But then, it's funny, like we'll get like beginners in the gym and you're teaching them something, or even like a beginner in the club, and they'll like need to make an adjustment and they'll make that adjustment and then they'll be surprised. They're like, whoa, like it's like they'll accidentally like power it and like and they almost threw it behind them because like they did like line up the dots
Yep.
and they like, but like they don't even know what it is that they're feeling to be like, oh, that's what I'm chasing for. They just know that like, oh, it felt easier and they were surprised. And it's typically they're surprised because they didn't have to catch it as deep as they did before with the same
Mhm.
weight. They like did this high power snatch versus like before they almost had to like muscle their way down there and force it, and they jumped forward or they're on their toes, which even at a really light weight, like think of just all the taxing of the body it is to be in an incorrect position versus an efficient position.
Mhm.
It's but so they'll get into the efficient position and they'll have like like a little like, oh, that felt great and whatnot, like and it just always, I was wondering, I'm like, I feel like if I saw that, like I'd be almost as like someone who's like well beyond that point, I'd be a little jealous. I'm like, man, it won't be that easy
Yeah.
eventually,
Yeah.
because then you'll have to make those efficient positions even that more efficient to feel what that's like at, let's say, 70, 90, or 100 plus or whatever it is versus 10 kilos,
Mhm.
like because you also have to do it with an increasing weight, with weights that people at the grocery store couldn't comprehend,
Yeah.
and these are just like your warm-up sets. And like, that's like that's a body, I can't remember where I mentioned one of my classes last week that I went to the doctors once, and they're like, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I do weightlifting. And I showed them a video of me snatching like 155 pounds. And they're like, how much is that? And I told them, and they're like, that's like a person. I weigh that much, So it's like, people can't even comprehend some of the, like when you get up into 80 and 85 and stuff like that for your numbers, this is far beyond the comprehension of most people. I almost think that the general comprehension maybe stops at like 100 pounds, or because like that's like a nice round number. It's like, you can pick up 100 pounds. Wow, that's pretty good. And you're like, yeah, I have to do that on my build up to get to 200 or 300 pounds.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially like general public, because you can say numbers, but also if people have never touched those numbers, they have no clue like what that even feels like. So like you can say 400, and 400 to them is the same thing as you saying 300 or 280, because they're like, that's heavy. That's all I know.
Yeah. And it's they don't know, like, what do you have to do internally to do some of these things. So I think I just thought that was a cool quote. And then the end of it, so there's a whole other thing. It says, when you meet it, so whatever this thing is, it asks you a question, and it's the only question that matters is, who are you? And boy is that one for weightlifting. Like, especially like in a competition sense, when like you're going up those stairs in front of the lights and the judges, and maybe you can see the crowd, maybe you can't. It's just you on a pedestal. It's you on a platform with lights shining on you to demonstrate all of your hard work and to go after your dreams and desires that you've set out in front of everybody, in front of a camera most of the time these days. And you have to go out there and you have to try to find that feeling. If you find that feeling out there on display, the likelihood of you winning or getting the next lift or getting this lift is drastically increased. But then like at some point, even when you do like connect the dots, there can still be a barrier. And that's where it's like when like Donnie Schenkel says, you just have to let go. Like you can do all these things right, but you have to fully let go. I'm going under that bar. Yes, I've known for months it could kill me. I know how heavy it's going to be. I've deadlifted this clean weight before, so like he's trying to clean, in the 200s and clean jerk over 200 kilos. So it's like, he knows all these things, but he just has to, not only does he have to find that feeling and line everything up after like endless amounts of training hours, but he also has to just let it go. Just let it be. Let's like see this all the way through. And the barbell does ask, like, who are you, Miguel? Like, are you a winner today? Or, are you gonna not see this through? Are you gonna fall? You're gonna drop the barbell?
Yeah.
Wow. Weightlifting. Have you ever had a moment like that where you're like, the sport is testing me right now? It's asking, who am I?
Yeah, I mean, there are training sessions like that where a lot of times, like, if you know yourself well enough as a lifter, you know how certain weights will feel on certain days. And some days it's like, it's not today. I know exactly what this is going to look like, and it's not in me today. Or you go up and you're like, this is going to be a fight, but I will get it. But it depends on the day. Definitely depends
on any of those days where it's like, no, it's not today. Oh, I'm so tired. Like I've had so many days where the first thing waking up in the morning is, I'm not doing anything today. I remember that all the time. I would wake up and be like, I can't snatch and clean jerk and squat again today. That's the first thing popping into my mind on waking up. Just like, yep, not today. But then as the day gets going and then eventually you get in there, you start warming up, you move around, you do it. Have you had days where you're like, nope, not today, but then you surprise yourself, or you find like a way to push past it?
Yeah, I think they're just the routine of it all, where you know you're going to be there anyway. And after a certain point, as long as it doesn't, yeah, it depends. There are a lot of different factors. There are definitely times where you can push through and just kind of say that it doesn't matter, or just let your body do what it's going to do. But yeah, sometimes it's teammates. Sometimes it's the fact that you're already there. So if I'm spending time being here, I might as well do what I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's really need sometimes to get you through it.
Well, it's funny you say that. Like, so it's funny how much. I mean, it's not funny. We know just that, yeah, that the mind is going to have so much power over the body, and if you can just find a way to like tune that out and let the body do what it's been trained to do, and the brain is just kind of there to make sure everything's on the up and up, but not let it have complete control. I think that's one way to possibly get out of it. Like, you got to tune out the feelings. You got to, like, if you tell yourself you're tired, then okay, you're probably going to feel even more tired. Like, got to have some of that positive self talk. I'm like,
Yeah.
like nope. Like it's like in Predator when he gets shot and he's like, I ain't got time to bleed. Don't got time. I don't got time to be tired. I have to do these snatches right now. So yeah, the mind is a powerful thing. What would you say to like, what would your advice be to like a beginner or someone who's just struggling all the time with just like, I'm so tired all the time. How do I, and then it reflects in their lifting, like just how to get past that, anything extra than besides just like, you just got to like let the body take over.
I mean, that's a good way to put it. I mean, you got to find what works for you, your motivations. If there's like, yeah, you got to go sometimes outside of yourself. We've been talking about all these like different movies with like motivations and all these things. But yeah, sometimes it's using movie characters. Sometimes it's using, I don't know, just a book, a
Song.
quote, anything for like, obviously like internal, people say like the motivation versus discipline, whatever. But no, sometimes you need motivation, and it's sometimes leaving like our reality itself, right? Like the real world, and just like leaning on something that, I don't know, you can draw a lesson from just to push past. Like, honestly, anime is really good for that type of stuff because it's like that's all it is. It's just people like pushing past these like limiters that have existed for forever, But if that works for you, and I think it can work for a lot of people, yeah, just find whatever motivation you need to like push through it, because you are going to feel that way no matter what.
Yeah.
But if you can find something to like lean on in those moments to get you through, I think that's the best way.
Yeah. I think, it's like no one said it was going to be easy, on any of these things. And I think most people kind of get like, okay, I'm going to be tired. I'm going to be beat up, all that stuff. But then it's kind of like what, like the end of this quote, it's like, it asks the question, who are you? And it's like the sport will, like, not only in the moment, but like any activity that you're doing, it's going to eventually ask, who are you? Where it's like, okay, you want to join a run club every Saturday morning. Well, but all right, you also don't want to get up a couple weekends in a row. But it's like, who are you? Like, are you the person that's going to get up and go out there and do that? And then that, because like that's what whoever X champion is that person. Like, whoever they are going to get up, or they're chasing it. It's like that Kendrick Ferris story when it was midnight and my friend Charlie like went home and Kendrick finally showed up at the gym, hours late, and he's like, "Where is everybody?" Like, "Oh, I'm ready to train." And, "Oh, it's midnight." It's like, "So what does that mean?" Like, I'm ready to train now. Like he also like doesn't believe in time. It's like no, this is the time when we train right now.
Yeah.
Like we'll sleep later. So it's like, yeah, who are you and what are you going to do and what did you set out and what do you want your story to look like in the end? Like, do you want it to be that like, yeah, I got that extra 10, 15 minutes of sleep and never went to the run club and now I'm paying for it and now I'm finishing X place that I didn't want to finish during my race or whatever, or things didn't go the way I wanted to, or I could have gone to the run club and you meet your future spouse and you you win the championships and there's a vendor booth there that just happened to be there and you get hired on the company and now just you never know. Like it's like who like that's just life. It's like who are you going to be? Like right now, who I am is someone staying inside and not driving around for no reason. But there's going to be plenty of people who are getting asked this question today. Who are you? And they're going to go out there and get in nefarious situations. And it's like, I don't need to do that, So it starts to trickle over into all things in life. Like if that's the cool thing about the gym and barbells and the sport is that we've seen so many people at Albany CrossFit join the gym and their whole life changes because now they're like, all right, they're like starting to like, like care about their health and fitness. They start to become that person that wakes up in the morning and just comes to class at 5 a.m. or 6:30 a.m. or whatever time it is. Even at the end of the day, that's hard to get done with a full day's work and then come in for a class at 5 o'clock, 7. We used to have classes 7 o'clock, 8:30. We used to have classes. I've had 30-person classes at 8:30 at night. We're getting done with class at 9:30. That's that takes that's a decision you have to make as a person. And then they tell you, they're like, oh, I'm getting married. I'm having a baby. I got this job promotion. Oh, I want to sign up for this competition or thing that I never would have before. Or I'm moving, and I never would have moved. And then you're sad to see them go. But like the gym made them like stronger to do all these things.
Yeah.
So training is just important part of life. Everyone should do some variation of it, and then it will ask you who you are, and then you have to answer that question. But imagine if like you just sat down one day somewhere and like just a white piece of paper floated down in front of you, like, who are you, Miguel? Like, what would you write down?
Yeah,
I'm not actually asking, but it's just like that's a hard question, right? You just write down simply the best, period, on the line. Slide it back. Whoever needs this, you can take this now. But no, great movie, and I've really been enjoying like this kind of lane of movies because there's like so much to draw out of it. Whiplash. Ford v Ferrari. I don't know about Black Swan. I watched Black Swan. I was like, all right, there's some things here, but this is like there's a spiral, a different kind of spiral going on here.
Yeah, no, that one is more of like, that's more psychological. Yeah. Self-torment going on there. But it's just chasing perfection, and greatness. It's just like with all those things, it can kind of show you like just the different like tolls that chasing greatness can have and take and what it does to people around you and then what it can do to you, so yeah, that was interesting. I watched The Smashing Machine because that's on HBO, and I wish I would have went to go see it at the movies. I think it came out around States, so like I wanted to go see it, but like it just didn't line up. But I know people gave it bad reviews and stuff. I really like it. It's The Rock is just doing such a good job, and so is I forget the actress's name. I should know her name. She's in a million things. Emily Blunt.
Emily Blunt. Okay, I wanted to say Emma Stone, but I knew it's not Emma Stone. But the arguments and stuff they have, I'm just like, wow, this is just like, it seems really real. Like the conversations they're having and just the way it goes, and The Rock is killing it. And spoilers, if you've not have you seen the movie?
No.
Okay, all right. I'm not going to bring it up then. You should watch it. It's a good sports movie from a sport that I definitely don't follow or know hardly anything about. And then I was looking it up. I was like, how much is The Rock really going to look like this guy? And I looked it up and I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, they kind of did a good job with that. He actually kind of like, there's a lot of times where you're like, that's The Rock. But then it's like, you're like, you know what? No, he does look like him. Like, so like they did a really good job. Really good job with that. So highly recommend it. That's a good snow day movie right there. The Smash Machine. So we had our first coaches development meeting of the year yesterday, and about once a quarter we're gonna try to get athletes in from the gym so that we can practice coaching stuff with like a live group, and it's not really something, Miguel, that's done outside of like if you go to a course or something. It's something that I think a lot more gyms should do. You guys killed it yesterday. I think you had my favorite line of the day, which was you were layering in the points performance for the back squat, and then you said something like, "All right, we haven't like touched on it a whole lot, on the other two sets we did, but now we're gonna focus on depth, and I'm really gonna I'm gonna push you to get down." You said something like that. I can't remember the exact quote, but it was good. I thought it was great to draw attention to like, hey, this is just it was a cool way to draw attention, I thought, to a point of performance, especially one that like most everyone was doing already, and someone on the outside could be looking in and being like, why isn't he having that person go deeper? Why is it that, because when you're on the outside looking into a class, you don't have the full context of what's going on, and that's just coaching in general. Like, you could see athletes at a weightlifting meet and you see their coach trying to get them to do something, and then you're like, what about those other 5 things? But it's like, yeah, but you don't know what's going on with this person and the relationship and what they're trying to work through. It's like one thing at a time, right? So I just thought it was, and even in the group, they, people could be like, I wonder if I should be squatting lower. So it's like you just kind of brought it way to the forefront. And the nice thing is on the placement of it is that it kind of needed the other 2 points of performance that you'd already covered. And to get those better, it's going to make it even easier for them to get depth now. And then to get depth, it's going to make those other points of performance have to be better. They're going to have to make sure they're driving their knees out and initiating correctly to have the weight distribution be going on there. So I thought that was good, and I think that was just an off the cuff comment from you, right?
Yeah.
So I think,
I feel like typically, because I mean that's the point of most progressions is like, that's why I don't like doing, like, sometimes Cap will do, like, if they do an initiation, they'll have them go to like quarter and then like 2 parallel. And for some things that can be beneficial, but I feel like for something like just a back squat or front squat or air squat, like that, it's better to just have them do the full movement the entire time and then focus on depth later, as in like, all right, you might already be hitting it, but like now as an actual point, instead of like, all right, we've been doing these things 2 parallel, now let's try to get lower.
they're just 2 different methods, like I was having this conversation with Shaf on, you can see so many of the Cap progressions for deadlifts are just a set of 10 of deadlifts, then another set of 10 of deadlifts, then another set of 10 of deadlifts, but they each have a different focus, but you're doing the full movement, refining it from one step to the next. Then you'll see another day where it's like, okay, bring it down to the knees, stand, bring it down to the shins, up to the knees, stand, so it's like you use them both, but probably default on the side of just doing the full movement when you can. And especially at the end of the progression, if you do segment it, you can't forget to like, well, I should do even more reps of the main movement at the end. Like, hey, all right, this is the thing now. So if I did do all these steps on a deadlift, like all these micro, points of performance or ranges of motion, then I should at least do like if I was doing 5s on those, I should do 10 or 15 on the full thing at the end, just to get that practice in. But and Schaff made that audible. So the thing that was great is that, you had like a great like off the cuff comment there, that it's really like kind of like maybe all, like no athlete in the room is going to appreciate that comment, but I will, because I'm kind of like on the meta of it. I'm like, oh, that was a nice coaching moment there, and no one else is like, what are you talking about? Where does that look? You're right. That's the stuff that we nerd out about and look at. Or like when Schaff like nixed, like in the heat of the moment, he nixed a piece of his progression, and then when we talk about it, it's like, yeah, okay, not only could that piece have probably been done earlier in the progression, it would have made more sense, but also you didn't need it. And we just went right to the main movement. Like you saw, they were doing good. The other parts that you did do kind of ironed out a lot of things. Let's just deadlift now. And it's like, yeah, let's do that. That's why we're there for that day. And I think it's as we all become more aware of all the nuances and all the ins and outs and all the whys and all the sciences and all that stuff, then it kind of like lets you kind of free flow like that, and like kind of make adjustments, and kind of be like, you kind of like say something, and then someone, and then maybe even say something and someone's like, I've never heard it said like that before, but it makes sense. It's just because like you have all of it in your head, but it's like you can have it all like on a notepad there, and then but you'd have to like find it, but like you can kind of go into like a free flow state a little bit, like just like you would, like we were talking about with lifting. You can do that like when you're like leading a group, and you're just like, oh, I'm like, and you have all the bases checked. You're like, okay, I'm totally organized, and I'm totally organized because I totally prepared for all of this. Like I wrote down all of my notes. I wrote down all the points performances, and that might seem like a little redundant to do in a lesson plan, but you do that enough, then eventually you won't have to do that because you've fully memorized them. But if you write down all the cues, all the faults, all the executions, all that stuff, then your lesson plan, and then where do I want this bike, that bike, and it's just all meticulous in detail. Then you start to know the ins and outs so well that when you are in the moment, you don't have to think about those little things. Now you can start to think about bigger things. And that's when you can really be like, okay, let me try to get this out of that person, because I'm not spending all my time being like, am I on time? Does everybody have what they need? Is there anything here? You can actually focus on like the heart of it. And a big way to be able to do that is just to prepare. And it's prepare and study, right? Allows you to kind of do the job even better, and practice. And that's why we're doing that with the group. We're practicing so that when it's a real class scenario, we're trying to do it even better, or it becomes natural. You ever see, so you probably feel, or you ever watch people coach like a class, like maybe you've gone to a gym or you're watching a class at XYZ, or you see at a meet a coach coaching someone, and then you can kind of tell the difference between someone who's like just doing everything naturally, like they're just saying these things or doing things kind of like as easily as if they're just like breathing, or like this is just how they make their eggs, But then you see someone else and you're like, I feel like they're trying to focus on everything all at once, and the things that should be falling into place naturally aren't, because they're trying to micromanage or doing things. You ever see situations like that?
Yeah.
You ever feel like you're in a situation like that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't necessarily like fully, I guess I have, but like coaching at meets where it's like I can do the job, and essentially like, especially back when I did it a little bit more, like just filling in for you. So I think part of that too is like a style thing. And I think that I see that a lot more at weightlifting meets. I guess that's more of like when I see other coaches coaching, is that it's almost like they're trying to be someone else. But I think weightlifting can kind of get like that because we're all in the back room. And it's like, yeah, a lot of times at weightlifting meets, you're like, I am just filling in for someone else. Like someone else's coach can't be here, or like I'm just a teammate, but I am like trying to help out. So you can kind of see uncertainty. You can kind of see trying to put on someone else's shoes, almost like fill a role that might not necessarily be theirs. instead of like leaning into your own style of like, this is how I do things. Yeah. So I would say maybe I get a little bit like that more with weightlifting. Maybe just like as a repetition thing, like developing my own style. But yeah, I think with like CrossFit at like the gyms that I've dropped into, you can definitely see like coaches who really feel comfortable and like this is their style. And they're
Yeah.
like, this is how I do things. And I feel very comfortable doing things this way.
Yeah. And it's and then you can kind of take that comfortableness with you anywhere, like if you had to coach a class at XYZ gym, it's like like what we did yesterday was getting uncomfortable, like maybe you guys didn't feel uncomfortable, but it's definitely like that's not an I mean, there's no like end result that could be bad, it's just all like we're just trying to gather feedback. But like it's like, okay, it is like different. I'm like, there's someone there with a clipboard, like anytime you get that going, it might make change things a little bit. And you just the knowledge that, okay, I'm being evaluated on some things. And then that the attendees know that you're being evaluated. And so like there's this different kind of thing, which I think that they were actually moving better, knowing that both of you guys were. I was like, this is an awfully behaved group right now here, huh? So it's I did notice that from them too, which is funny. But so it's like it's and of course you want to do well, right? You don't want to like do poorly in front of everybody. So there's like that social thing. But like the thing that probably helped was that you guys did prepare, and that we do focus and nerd out about this stuff quite a bit. I don't know. I don't think we actually like have full weeks where we're not like doing something, because or at least for you, like we talk about coaching on the podcast, or you have to cover a class, which means you have to prepare for that class. Like, so we just have like a culture of like preparing and thinking things through. And also, we do take time to go over the ins and outs of things. So it's just a way of like making like stronger coaches, so I think like if we keep doing this and also refine it a little bit more, because I have things that I like I mentioned to you guys yesterday, like I wish I would have had like a bunch of prompts, like I knew I was gonna ask, but I didn't realize that maybe they people wouldn't be as open to giving feedback in the beginning. Like they had to loosen up a little bit to do that,
Yeah.
But it's like I hope that they would know that like you guys aren't like actually like gaining or losing anything off this performance. Like you're gaining like experience, but like if it was a rough go, no one's getting yelled at or reprimanded. It's just like, oh yeah, no, that happens too. Like you're gonna bomb, like you're gonna have bad classes like here and there, even if you did prepare. So so I think just trying to draw more from them, because I do think that there is feedback that they have that can help you guys, can help all of us. We just have to get it out of them. I mean, with the feedback that athletes did give, did you find any of that helpful for you personally?
Yeah, and I mean it's interesting. I mean, I just coached most of them right before. Yeah, and I would say little differences in how I was kind of doing things. But yeah, that's the whole point. I think I'm pretty open with classes, especially back when I was programming my own workouts for Sundays with like, what do you guys want? What do you guys, I was just asking a lot of questions. One for the programming aspect and just like, what do you guys want to see? What works for you guys in terms of coaching? So it really does help to hear what they're saying, because that's the whole point, right? Of their experience. So yeah, I prefer to like really hear a lot of stuff, even the smallest thing. Even though sometimes I'm like, nah, but yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's well, you're going to use your own discernment to be like, all right, yeah, like thank you for telling me, but really, I can't do that, or like
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
not gonna, Um, but that's why like I mean every now and then I don't do it all the time, but sometimes I'll try something new and then I'll ask the class, what did you guys think about that? And it might be like a new progression or like an experimental progression or maybe doing the workout a certain way. Like, okay, we're going to progress the barbell like at the games, or we're going to do this, and just kind of asking people like even like, hey, did you like that? Was that fun? And getting them to give feedback. I'm wondering if maybe having prompts, but then also it's like there's no way. I mean, like I didn't write down their responses and whatnot, but maybe have like at the very end before they go, just kind of fill out like a little comment thing, on just that way we have some, and you could do it anonymously, or you can sign your name. But at least then we could be like, oh, this person said they actually said, all right, yeah, no, that worked out, or that didn't work out.
yeah,
Just different ways, or maybe that's like an email with like a form, or something after the fact, so people don't have to stay. And then also we don't have a million pieces of paper. All right, it's probably a form, and then whoever really wants to do it
yeah.
can
I was
fill it
thinking
out.
about that too. I was thinking that they probably assumed that you were going to ask them, but after, and separate from us.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, maybe, yeah,
but I
maybe
was also,
that's
yeah, I honestly, I think that was it. That they just weren't expecting us to still be standing there while giving the feedback.
yeah,
Um, but I was thinking about like a form after, but still, like people forget very quickly. Like even
yeah.
if when you were like, did everyone receive a cue? And some people were like, did I? And like in my head, I was like, I know that shop gave you multiple cues, but like they don't necessarily think about it that way. Or like
Yeah,
once you're moving, you forget all that stuff. Like sometimes
yeah.
in barbell club, like you'll ask us like things felt, or like you'll ask us a lot like, oh, this new thing, like what did you feel? And I'm like, I've already forgotten.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess it's got to kind of be quick. I think if we do it again, they'll be more on top of
Yeah.
like, okay, this is the expectation, so we'll be ready.
They're all going to have their own little clipboards over there. You're like,
Yeah,
all right, go down to the knees and be like, I wonder what he means by that. Like their own athlete's journal. But yeah, and it's like and I was debating about so many different ways to do it too. I'm like, do I want to just have one big thing at the end? But then I'm like, yeah, by the time we get through the skills practice, no one's going to remember the whiteboard brief. So it kind of has to be whiteboard brief and then ask questions. And it's like, okay, I feel like it needs to definitely go beyond like, do you understand the workout, the work, and also it's like I should have known, and I do know that like there were definitely at least 3 or 4 people that did not understand the workouts.
yeah,
Guarantee it. But they're not going to say it. And also, there are people who think they understand the work. There's another thing. They think they understand the workout, but they actually don't. And you're not going to find out until it's about time for 3, 2, 1, go. And they're like, so wait a minute. All right, we go from 1 to 10. Tell me this again. And you're like, no way.
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
so yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I think putting in that kind of practice, and doing it in different ways, because we did a heavy day this time, and next time it'll be a little more dynamic, and maybe we'll just also focus at times on just like straight up skills. Like, okay, you're going to teach 2 skills. You're going to do a pull up and a handstand push up. You're going to do a toes to bar and a muscle up. Like that way we can kind of hit more things. And I think athletes would enjoy that too because they want to work on those things. So I'm also trying to
yeah.
like,
Almost like a skills practice for them anyway. Yeah,
yeah. It's like, hey, we're gonna do extra skills practice, like but it's like we can have multiple things going on at one time instead of having like a formal workshop. It's like, hey, this is a workshop for our coaching staff and for you. We're gonna spend this time on the pull up. Josh is coaching us through the pull up progression, and then maybe at the end we have a little powwow and talk about pull ups overall and things that we should try to do, and then we move on to the next one, like stuff like that. Um,
yeah,
and so to go kind of go back a little bit to like being prepared and kind of being in a flow state with coaching, there's not this past week, maybe the week before, I was in a coaching development call for and some we were going over the power equation, like force times distance, using
Mhm.
Fran as an example. And at the very end of it, one of the people on there said the classic comment that we've all said whenever we're in school: "Why do I even need to know this? Like what is this going to do for me at all?" And I was a little kind of like taken back by that question because I wasn't really expecting it in this group of people.
Yeah, yeah.
But it came up, and I mean, like I've had a lot of time to think about it, and I like my follow up is like it's like, if you are a professional coach, why wouldn't you want to know about it or spend time learning about it, and all things like health and fitness, and knowing all these little things that of course you're not going to use in class. Uh, but I do feel like if you do know it, you may never use it in class like exactly. But I do think it's going to lend that itself to that overall preparedness on just being
Mm.
like taking your own like bandwidth like out here, instead of just being like, oh, I just only know the things in confined to an hour class, but I know all these other things. And I think that helps with confidence, actually feeling like you are a professional. Like a lot of coaches struggle with imposter syndrome, right?
Mhm.
Well, then I think this is something that could help. The math and the science behind what we're trying to do with that movement right there, and that's a component of knowing. Let's say if we're using a thruster as an example, not only should you know the progression of it and all the muscles and ligaments and how they all move, and then how the body responds to different stimuluses of heavy versus 21 of them for time, and just the more you know about the thruster, the more well-rounded and better of a coach you're going to possibly be. So that's just part of it, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like remember I said that my one professor used to let us write essays, and you could write down front and back one piece of paper everything you knew about the topic, right? This is kind of that situation. It's like if you just wrote 5 things on a piece of paper, you're going to be sitting there writing that essay and be like, oh crap, Or there are people who wouldn't even come in with a piece of paper, But if you have that piece of paper with cramming in the margins, there's no white on the paper. It's all just
Yeah,
filled
yeah.
with notes. You're going to write a better essay. You're going to be a better coach. So it's like, I don't know. What do you think about that question on like, why do I even need to know this?
Yeah. It's interesting because I also would probably get like taken aback, but then I would think about it I guess I would have to hear it, but I do think it's an interesting question, important question, because I do also think in those settings, sometimes we just take in information without like, and this is why, but I do think the explanation is sometimes needed because sometimes people just take that information as just in their brain and they don't do anything with it.
Yeah.
But it's good to know that like, yeah, for that instance, I would say overall just curiosity about the thing that you're doing, I think helps a lot. Like you're saying, like with that essay thing, everyone fill it out differently, but I am kind of the person that would write like 5 bullet points because I know from those each of those bullet points I could ramble, and that stuff is like so in my brain that I know like I just need these prompts to get me going. And that's even the power equation where it's you just have that in your brain, so everything else, another like clicky thing with like as a weightlifter or as someone in sport where you see something and you'll see the equation like playing out in real time and you're like, that's what that is, that's how that comes into play. um or yeah, just overall your curiosity and interest in the sport and coaching helps you become a better coach. Because I mean, like, even the people who do development, if they're like, my goal is to become a better coach, that's not enough. Or like, your goal might to become a better coach, but if you don't actually care about coaching, that's going to be hard. Like you're doing two opposite things.
Yeah.
So I think overall just knowledge, it just helps you become that better coach.
Well, so you said two things that I wrote down a note on, like appreciating it when you see it, and the deeper you go down the rabbit hole of just understanding all of it, it allows you to see things in a more clear way than you would if you didn't. Even if you're not using a lot of it in the moment, it at least kind of helps to make the picture unblurry. There's a lot of times where people will tell me, oh, this person has a great squat, or they're a great mover, or things like that, and then I'll see them moving and I'm like, I don't think we're seeing the same thing, because I don't think that they're moving that great, or their squat is that good. And it's not necessarily that I know more than that person. It might just be that, like, my picture isn't as blurry as theirs because I've looked at all these other things, or I feel confident maybe even in having a way higher standard just because of the hours you put into it. You're so comfortable with the material. And I do think what you said with like having curiosity and interest in coaching and stuff, I think that if you kind of stop, like you just do the bare basics and you don't put in like any kind of time or effort into learning any little thing, and because there's a million things to focus on, we could spend the entire year of podcasts talking about like just anatomy and physiology. Boy, we'd never get done. But like the deeper you go down that rabbit hole, it's like, well, why do you need to know about cells? Why do you need to know about muscle contraction and the proteins and the thing that grabs this thing and all that stuff? Well, it's I think the person that is curious and keeps going down the rabbit hole, in the moment when they're coaching the athlete, they're going to be just as curious. And like you said, they're going to ask more questions. Can you go deeper? Can you do another pull-up? Can you do more push-ups? Like, let's try. And I think that type of person that you practice through seeking out, more and more deeper knowledge and also putting in the time to understand it will help you understand your athletes, what you're actually seeing to begin with, and then also understanding or being curious enough to go deeper with your own athletes. But if you're only just surface level coach, then you are going to be the person that's like, okay, I'm just worrying. Really, I can never get past the logistics of class. How many people do I have? Are they all signed in? Did everybody pay? I got to turn on the music. Let me go turn on music. I got to do the timer. Does everybody have their equipment? Oh, this person, it's like you're just going to be stuck there instead of being able to go deeper with it.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting too. Let me know what you think about this. I think the coach that like goes like is curious and goes deeper with things is gonna have already the group management and all that stuff locked in, and it makes the athletes' lives easier because it just happens. It's just they're flowing together, and then the athlete and coach can kind of just get down to the movement of things. I think if you're more surface level, then everything has to be like micromanaged to like a T, and then you and the athletes can never actually get into the thing. You're just completing workouts. Well, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I think the person who's passionate about coaching is going to go farther than the person who is naturally good at coaching, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah,
it goes all the way back to like are you an instructor or are you coaching? Like, I can, especially now, like, I think we're all at a point of directing a room of people. Like, I feel fairly comfortable doing that, but if that was it, then I would just stop, and I would be, I mean, yeah, I'm sure you see it even at people that are at your level where you're like, oh, they just want this. They just want you guys out at the end of the hour.
Get out of here.
And like, yeah, I think they just like, we need, okay, the next class is going to start. We got to make sure that everybody's out of here, and that like, they don't, I think it's, I don't want to like fully put that on people, but like, yeah, I think some people are just more focused on that aspect. And if that's done, they're like, all right, job well done. We did it. Instead of, you know, I really care about coaching and I want these athletes to get better, and I care and I want to become better at helping them reach these goals. I think it's two different things.
Yeah.
That some people might have, no matter what level they're at. I think you can get pretty far just off your basic skills in managing people. But I think the person who really cares, and because if you really care, you're going to improve, even if you're not naturally as good at directing a room or speaking in front of people, because you care so much, you're going to improve on that. But you also have like that deeper level that's going to help motivate you through those tougher spots.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. That and it's like, if though it's like one of them actually gets results and the other one kind of like, you will get some results. Like the fitness, isn't that like the fitness will happen. Like if the athletes just do their job, which is just come to class, just sign up and be consistent and come to class, there's going to be fitness. You're going to lose a little bit of weight. You're going to feel a little bit better and whatnot. But like, you know, that's still different from like getting like long-term results and like being able to like do more over time, like actually getting pull-ups versus like being stuck at one stage for a while, you know. It's like getting an athlete a muscle up, it can be tough, you know, and you got to figure out like what motivates people. And so it's like, okay, you could easily like look into like, well, if I'm a coach, why should I like do any kind of studying or research or anything on psychology? Like what makes people tick and what motivates them and things like that. Well, it's like, all right, if you're like, why would I ever need to know that? Well, then you might have a really hard time drawing things out of people just for the sake of like of figuring out what like actually motivates them or what might like light a fire under them. I remember the last time I got someone up on the rings for a full muscle up, it was a person that we had this one athlete in class who they got a muscle up on a particular day. Did they have the muscle up before that class? Probably for weeks and months on end. That's my first question. They're like, this is someone who has dips, they have pull-ups, they can do some RX weights. They just don't have this one tricky skill. So like inside of them, they have the strength and ability, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's holding them back?
Yeah.
Outside of maybe technique, it's going to be some kind of mental thing where they don't fully believe that they can do it. And so this was during a time when like, all right, I can't even support myself up on the rings. I need someone to demo. And I'm like, hey, I wonder if this would like pump this person up, because I knew that at the end, I'm going to ask them to demo a full muscle up in front of the whole class, and they don't have a muscle up, but they became my special helper for all the steps. So I'm shining a spotlight on them, and they're in front of the class already. So that people don't like that, you know, I'm fine with it because you and I do it all the time. But so I take them, I put them in the spotlight of the class. Hey, we're going to do this transition. We're going to do this. And I coach them through it. They're getting extra reps, and maybe they're even understanding it a little bit differently, like being the demo than like just standing there and maybe like checked out a little bit. And then along those ways, you praise them, right? Miguel's doing a great job. All right. And then it's like, does anyone want to try a full muscle up? Hey, Miguel, let's go up there. All right, everybody watch Miguel. He's going to go for a muscle up, and then hit the muscle up and whatnot. And it's like, all right, that's like we're playing chess, not checkers. It's like, and that's where you kind of like, as a coach, you're just like, I don't like, you can do this. I don't understand why you don't want to do this or why you won't do this. I have to figure out another strategy. It's literally me versus like we're working together, but like I have to be an adversary in a way to force you to rise to the occasion. Like you need a villain, right? You need, and it's like in that moment, like I'm not being like a villain, but I am like putting them in different scenarios than they normally are. I'm asking them to step way outside their comfort zone. And there you go. Muscle up. Like that's like that's a fun part of it. That's a fun it's like, and you kind of like just decide those things in the moment. You're like, I'm gonna get you today. We're getting that muscle up. We're getting this. But it's like if you're so comfortable and you have so much practice and you know all the ins and outs and you understand that like it's not that dude needs to spend 5 minutes or 10 minutes after class every day practicing his ring stuff, which that will never not be a good idea, to like practice it. It's like, what's going on here? It's like, okay, he's going to be checked out during most of the class because he maybe doesn't think he needs to do these things, these drills that everyone who's definitely trying really hard just to complete get done. It's easy for him. So I need to make this more important for him. How can it be more important than he's the one showing everyone how to do it? And then now he's actually trying, and then we're going. So it's just a whole thing, and you'll find moments where you're like, you know what? We're going to get that today. We're going to get this done. That might have even been talked about a little bit in the article that we're doing today on like pushing. I mean, maybe not that specifically, but have you had any like moments like that where you're like, you know what? I think I'm going to push you in a different way today, or I'm going to like help you rise to the occasion.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I do like the demoing part. I was able to do that in yesterday's class as well for some movements. Partially because, sometimes you're like, it's not my day to do this movement. It's not going to look right now, but I know this person can. And that like confidence boost is sometimes all they need, or like it is setting them up like either to fail or like that they should be capable of this, but sometimes setting them up like with that pressure, and also like you said, like the praise beforehand puts them in a state of like, you can do this, so try.
It's like someone rubbing your shoulders. You're the man. Get out there. Go get it. And you're like, I am the man.
But even it's the encouragement at the right time during sets or in between sets to make them go like, oh, I know that looked fine to me, but I know that they are going to think in their head that was very heavy. So before they can even put those thoughts in their head, I'm going to say like, that looked great. Perfect. Add weight and we'll go to the next one. Like we said, like the article is kind of going to be saying for this next one, but sometimes just the right timing, and that can really set people up.
Yeah. Like being confident enough to ask people to do more, and you can plainly see that they're capable of doing more. They just don't believe it yet. And then even if it's not going to be a situation where like, all right, they're going to get their first muscle up right after it, even just having people demo things that like I'll say that all the time. I'll demo something, or I'll have like Josh demo something, and then right after we do it, I'm like, I should have had Allison demo this, and so I'll just say that to the group. But it's also, it's like, that's like a good compliment. It's like, so it's like different than a good job. It's like, oh, you're doing it so good, I should have had you just demo it right off the bat, and it just like on another level, a lot of people don't get compliments that often, a lot of people don't get to be like the star in a moment or anything like that. So like you can also like use your class and coaching and like little things like that to like make someone feel good about themselves, and that's just a whole nother level of it in the gym, like versus it being just like, all right, we're starting, boom, 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 boom. All right, go home, scores, all that stuff. It's like, all right, I know you have a great air squat. Let's have you air squat. We all clap. What great technique. All right, let's work to get there now. We're going to make that great technique even better. And just, all right, now you feel good about it, or they feel good about it. Did you, I don't know, but everybody's different. You before you were a coach, were you ever asked to demo anything? And then did you kind of feel like, oh, cool, I got to do something different today?
It depends on the thing. I think I've definitely been set up like that,
Mm-hmm.
where I'm like doing something in the background and they're like, everyone look at this person doing it. And you're like, I'm not even sure that I'm doing it right. But yeah, that sometimes helps where, because yeah, sometimes you need to hear it from somebody else where they're like, based on the way that you're doing this, you should be able to do this. And sometimes that's all you need in your head is to
Yeah.
say, like, you're doing this part so well that the next step that you haven't been able to get yet is within your range.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a cool thing. So it's a fun thing. It's like you can kind of, if you give clear instructions and people are listening, it's always, I mean, you give the clearest instructions, people aren't listening. That's a whole other thing. But give clear instructions. You've planned for things. There's a rhyme and a reason. There's a why behind why you're doing things. When you start that timer, then like it's almost like it's okay. You can actually coach now. Like very simple example. This past week, I just had just a group of athletes in class. We're going through the cap warm up. I didn't change it. There's a lot of times where I don't change it. I'm just like, all right, I should also be able to teach this if I had to, and then so I'm just going through it and not going through it in like a micromanagey way where it's like we're all going to do. It's like, okay, when you're done with this set, go get the next kettlebell and then just start. Then go get the next kettlebell and just start. And then all I'm worrying about is like, all right, I'm going to be done at that time. If they're not done at that time, I'm just stopping because they were moving too slow. They didn't get it done. And then I can just focus more on the coaching thing. And then, Maria and Nyla hit PRs on their push-ups. I think Nyla got 6 and then Maria got 5 or so. And then I noticed that they were like, when things felt tough, they would just default to the down dog position. But it's like, and I know like sometimes I bring up like my complaints on like, all right, I'm anti down dog. I'm anti Spider-Man lunge. They're destroying CrossFit. They're the most awful things in the world. They're a parasitic, cancerous thing that is making other things worse. But it's like, if you're not deep into it, you can't even have thoughts like that.
Right.
I'm like,
Yeah.
to even come to the conclusion on like, you know what, that step in that progression doesn't make sense. Like it's like we've done this in and out. I've taught it a million ways. I've removed it in my last class because I've never been happy with it, and then now it makes sense, or just anything, or even like drawing the conclusion on like, hey, the only time we do push-ups, aside from like once a month, if they pop up in the programming, is in the warm-up, always with a downward dog or an inchworm. Is that not a problem? It is, because now I see athletes hitting the emergency brake button way earlier and just defaulting to that position whenever they want to. It's just like the stepping on burpees. It's just like all these little insidious things that slow you down and take us away from better technique and intensity in the workouts. Like, we've taught everyone how to make it easier. It's the same thing as like teaching people, like we talked about yesterday in your workout that involved all those back squats. You depth is going to be a priority, because when those bigger sets get hard, they're going to start cutting the range of motion short. Not because they're not strong enough to do it, but because they're going to subconsciously make the exercise easier in their head. And that's how the brain has figured out how to do it. Less range of motion, the rep is done faster, the bar's off your back quicker, and it doesn't feel as hard. Even though on the outside looking in, you're like, oh, they could clearly keep doing that. Like, the psychological intensity is too much. They're like, no, I don't want it to feel that hard anymore. So it's like, that's all we're doing now on the downward dogs. It's just like, hit the push-up, boom, rest. Hit 2 push-ups and rest. Hit 3 push-ups and rest. Instead of sticking. So now what I'm going to be doing, actually, I've decided this. When I have Nyla and Maria in class, I'm going to start making them do bigger sets of push-ups. It's like, hey, let's do a set of 5 right now. You could do it. And like, that's how they're going to build up their push-ups, and that would be a better way to build it up, instead of the only, when it comes up in the class, like, hey, we should go to knee push-ups. because of the sheer volume of this and the other things we're trying to get done with it,
Yeah.
And that's why, in general, if I program push-ups in a warm-up, it's just push-ups, no downward dog. I want to just focus on that thing. It's not a combo move, even though it's kind of like evolved into one now. So, yeah. Technique versus intensity, consistency. Let's talk about this this article. Good article. So we have, it's called Finding the Sweet Spot, Mastering CrossFit's Mechanics, Consistency, Intensity Hierarchy. And it was written by, scroll down, Eric O'Connor, seminar staff, flow master, CrossFit education department, and level 4 coach, over 400 seminars, former Division I collegiate wrestler. I never thought about what sport he played. I would have thought like more like he looks more like a runner to me. I wouldn't have thought he was a wrestler.
Yeah,
but cool. So yeah, great article that you picked, and it's talking about a lot of the things that we've kind of talked about. But what was like your overall like thought or takeaway kind of from the article?
Yeah, I mean, just overall,
or maybe even initial thoughts, like if you don't want to have to sum it up.
Yeah, I guess it was here is what things should look like, or like if it looks like this, here's what this should mean or could mean. So I'm sure we'll go through the breakdown, but like all those reps looked great. You should probably increase something there. Or like in a set of like 10, 12, one of those, especially towards the end, is starting to like lose your whatever it is. And then you're like, that's probably right around the perfect thing. Where I can see you actively trying to fight against it, but overall, just because of the load and volume that you're doing, like your intensity is at this level, like it'll look like this. And just those identifiers and they get into like the consistency of it as well and how that can affect it. But yeah.
That's it's a great breakdown, and in itself it's a progression, right? Like we just love our progressions in CrossFit. We can't get over them. And it's how I know in the past couple shows we've kind of talked about like, what about a new person coming in? Like, how do you get them the stimulus? And this is essentially just how you would go through things. And the cool thing about the charter here, because this is CrossFit's charter, mechanics, consistency, intensity. It's great for starting CrossFit, but it also never ends. Like you could be at an elite level and still apply things to this, where you're gonna have to like go back to mechanics because it's too much, or then you build up your capacity, and now you can like kind of ride the line a little bit and have corrections here and there, and then finally you're going to get in situations where, all right, that's just too much. The old example that we used to use, I don't know if they probably don't anymore, was throwing darts. Like if you're throwing a bullseye every single time, well, hey, you got to step back a little further. You're way too close and getting too good at that. Or versus like you get a couple bullseyes and you're kind of like peppering right around it. All right, that's a solid effort. And then you have the person that's like, they put it in that guy's neck. They blew out that window or light bulb and they never even hit the target. And then you're like, hold on, this is how you hold it. This is what you do, and we've seen examples of this in our, I don't think we see the last example too often anymore with our current population. If anything, we might be pushing them to like get closer to the intensity side of things. But I definitely don't think we see that last one anymore, where it's like, man, you're a danger to yourself and everyone around you, and this is just not looking good. What in your classes, like maybe today, Did more people come in today? I know you had one person. Just one. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Maybe yesterday. Let's talk about yesterday.
Mhm.
Yesterday, did you have any instances of like where, okay, you clearly need to speed up, you need to slow down, you need to do this, and like, were you doing any kind of like threshold training, kind of like that in the class?
Yeah, I think yesterday was a perfect example because it was like a full spectrum of that. And I think the movements, I would say the knees to elbows, a perfect example of that. Because there are some people where, some people weren't even hanging from a bar, and then some people were. And then I think knees to elbows something too because of you can just change the height where you know and that can look so many ways where some people I'm like, I don't want you to just do knee tucks because you can do knee tucks fine. Like the whole, all right, you can't knee to your elbow every time, but are you attempting to get your knee to your elbow every time, or are you just trying to get it up just above your waist every time, or that knees to armpit, or just getting your knees up to your chest? Like there's such a spectrum of that, and I think before the workout started or as we were going through it, I was giving everyone like different heights to get to based on how they looked with it. Where some people was just like, perfect, work on those knee tucks. Still, I need you to focus on getting your eyes up while you're doing these. Or like your grip. You're still really narrow when you jump up on the bar. So here's what I want you to focus on. We're doing knee tucks. You're doing great at these. You're flying through. You're probably going to do them all unbroken. So let's challenge ourselves, go a little bit higher. Or like if you are doing knees to elbow, let's try to keep them consistent. Let's try not to lose this. If you are, then drop. Take a second, go into your next set, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's getting really bad out there. It looks like a thick fog right now from my balcony. I can no longer see Sand Creek Road. It's just the sports field, and this much snow has now accumulated in front of my balcony here. So yeah, okay. Anyways, yesterday, what a workout, and definitely a workout where people can like, oh, only 2 rounds. But it's like you got to do the math, on what's being asked of you here, and this is going to take a while. Like it's always interesting where it's like, oh, it's 2 rounds, but hold on, each round might take 8 to 10 minutes. Like this is going to be a longer one, but it's funny the symphony of things that have to happen, or that you are trying to make happen as a coach. Like, okay, here is the intended stimulus. And with that stimulus, there's also an underlying, and that it's part of it on like, what is the effort that I want each person to put into the workout? And then we also have these skills, and we want to be able to not only get a metabolic effort, but I want you to get better and develop those skills. So we're going to practice them, but then we're also going to use them under intensity and fatigue and try to hold form and try to stay on the pull-up bar longer because we get the benefits of more grip strength and all, just everything. And like you as the coach have to figure that out for 13 people. And then, and then continue to like from the start to end, preach the method or the message of today's class and continue to mold everybody's individual workout versus if it was just one person and you were personal training them and you were prepping, then you would write the workout exactly as it would be for them. Like, okay, I'm personal training Sarah Hume today. All right, well, we're going to work on knees to elbow. I'm going to have her do knees to armpits, and we're going to try to be consistent there. This is how many reps she's going to do, all that stuff. You have to do that. Like that's what personal training would be. But now we're writing the workout for like, we have to write it for like the fittest on earth. And then we have to like make everyone, it's like, that's not your individual workout unless you have that ability. Now I
Yeah.
have to write an individual workout for everybody. And then there has to be that moment where we do the workout. And then I have to continue to like slow down, speed up. Nope, that's not our spot. And remember that for everybody. And so there's just so much going on with that. And that's where we've talked about in the past. Most coaches will say 3, 2, 1, go, and then they're not doing anything for that time. And it's like this is good. This should be a very busy time. I bet you were very busy during that. I think everybody finished sub 18 minutes. So what
Yeah.
were they, like 15 to 18 minutes, somewhere's in there?
Yeah.
Most people.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to be busy doing that, right? There were probably people where you're like, you got to do these burpees faster, like jump them up, hold on longer, push harder on the row, like things like that. Or work harder to hold this pace. Maybe they're already going at a decent clip, and you're like, you can hold this, you can do this.
Yeah, I think coming around the second row, because I had tested 50 calories before class, and I went, "Hey guys, everyone's scaling, everyone's scaling the row," because I know with the time that we want to do on this that it's mostly not going to be possible for most of you. Some people were able to do the full row, but yeah, so I had them go 2.5 minutes, but I went and I said, look at the calories that you got in 2.5 minutes the first round, and then if anything, try to beat that number on the second round if you can. So then the second time around was coming around trying to look at or remember where people were in that first round and kind of push them that way. The burpees is always one where you're just like rhythm, find a rhythm. I kind of in the burpee warm up was getting them to kind of fall into the next burpee instead of like jumping, landing and crashing straight up and then falling down into the next one. So I was hammering that home, but yeah, it's
a lot of work. I maybe wouldn't say that at the whiteboard brief, like none of you guys are doing this, because like one, it's like, oh, challenge accepted. I think I will do that. He doesn't think I can. I think I will try, and also just like always imagine the person on their first day or the drop-in who's like, well, like, what's going on here? It's like it's better to have them find out through those testing. I'm like, all right, you should be able to do this in 10 seconds. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. All right. If you didn't get it, we need to bump that down. And then you have that data. But no, and that's great on if you got 39 calories the first go around for your next round of 2.5 minutes on your rower, you're trying to beat that. We still might not get the 50, but maybe get the 41. And that means we kept the effort up because you know that on round 2, they're going to get like, I'm going to get on that rower, Miguel. And now we just have to wait for 2.5 minutes to go by.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Maybe I got 37 calories the first 2.5 minutes because it was 3, 2, 1, go. But now the second time after the burpees and the knees to elbow, I just got to wait out this clock and I'm going to get 27 calories. And it's like, all right, what did that do for me? Like, okay, I did some work, but really I'm just getting pushed through the workout. Like, it's like, okay, we need to just have me go for time just to make sure essentially I don't take 5 hours to do this and hold everyone up. Yeah. So it's like, okay, if that is the goal, I have to like try to beat it. Now I may not even beat it, but my effort's going to be, if I get 35, that's way better than me sandbagging it and getting 27 or 25 when I got 37 on round 1. And I totally would want to do that too. Cause like you're going to get what the row was the first movement, right?
Yeah.
So 50 calorie row, 40 burpee, 30 knees to elbow, 2 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
So after the 40 burpees and then 30 knees to elbow, like I'm going to get on the rower. And if I'm only rowing for 2.5 minutes, the first 30 to 45 seconds is just being like, oh gosh, all right, that, and then you're just pulling, you're like, I got to do burpees again after this. So since I know I have to do those 40 burpees or however many I'm doing after this, I should take it easy on the row now to recover a little bit. And that second row is kind of a throwaway. You're right. I'm just recovering on it. Right?
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, that's what I would do. No one else would totally do that. No one else would. But
No, I was actually pleasantly surprised with the row going around for that second round. Yeah, everyone did stay pretty much consistent. Yeah, and then everyone made a good choice on it in terms of scaling, and yeah, so yeah, it worked out.
And that's good too with like testing it beforehand and knowing, and then also knowing where where the wheels normally come off. Like I say it to death, but like I always like round 4, like round 5, everyone finishes with their best performance. Like their stroke rates are better, their split times are better. They can do all 10 pull-ups in a row, but then they have a pity party in the middle of it, right? Where they're like, oh, I need to hold back a little bit because I don't know if I'll be able to do this. And round 4 is like, especially when we do like intervals and stuff like that, everyone always wants to take off round 4. And I'm like, no. We have to go hard on this next round that's coming up. And when you have like work rest, that's the time to like talk to the group again and be like, okay, all right, here's what we need to do. Like we need, like, you've been in my classes when I've done this before, and some people are probably just dying. They're like, what is he even talking about? But it's like, I know what you want to do because I know what I would do. If I was doing this workout alone, I would totally be resting right now. So I can't let you do that. So what we need to do is we need to push hard this one, because I know you will automatically, in most cases, push hard enough on round 5. It's the last one. And especially if I'm like, all right, last one's coming up. We're done after this. Your last time on each exercise, let's empty that gas tank. Most people will do it. That's when you'll see people rowing at a split time. And you're like, where was that the whole time? And then they'll even laugh. Like Art does that to me all the time. I'm like, you could have been doing this the whole time. And then he'll giggle and laugh and finish out the workout. And it's like, so even though you're trying to like, go faster now, go fast. Like, oh, I can't. Like some people get really good at acting. They're like, no. And the Oscar goes to James McDermott. So much. It's just a funny thing. Back to the episode here, or not episode. We are in the episode. The article, mechanics, consistency, intensity. Any takeaways from mechanics from the article?
No, I feel like that's like the where we start always. Yeah.
Like he says here. It's just the starting point. Nearly all session elements revolve around teaching technique or introducing the athletes to common movements. It's almost like it's kind of like the on-ramp, right?
Yep.
It's just the on-ramp phase. And even if you were a like a games athlete, if they busted out a new skill, you're gonna have like an on-ramp on it, right? Like if they were like, hey, you're gonna have to shoot a bow and arrow at the games this year, all of them would have to go to a range and they'd be an on-ramp. They'd be like, all right, here's the bow, here are the parts of it, here's how you hold it, stance, grip. And then they'll go through some kind of tell, show, do, check, and they'll probably be very close to the target first. And then as their ability increases, they'll go further and further back. So it's like whenever you introduce something new or like a new stimulus, you're going to have an onboarding to it, right?
Yep.
And in regular class, it is like if we look at like every class too, the whiteboard brief, the general warm-up, the specific warm-up, they all still follow this right here. It's all about the mechanics of it.
Yeah.
And it can be overdone, if you do too much of it, or you're not efficient with your time, is that when athletes start to not see the value in it? So if we go back to like the coach on like, why do I need to know this stuff? Over time of athletes doing these things for a while, they start to want they want those longer workouts because they don't want to do this anymore, and mainly it's probably because they get disgruntled with that because the coach is no longer drawing value for them out of these things. Like, okay, if it's always just do 10 kip swings, do this, do that, there's no cues, there's no time to actually practice it. they're still not getting pull-ups. They're just doing all of this to eventually get to the rings. I can see how athletes would be like, there's no valuable part of this, and that was just 12 minutes. Why couldn't we just do a 20-minute AMRAP instead of 10-minute AMRAP?
Yeah, and I like you said, I think you have to almost pick and choose per day, because you can't break down. I mean, there was one day where I broke down how to do iron crosses correctly, because I was like, the reason that nobody cares about these is because they're just turning their leg, like they can't, I know that the way that they're doing it, they can't feel a stretch. So it's like, all right, here's how I want you to actually set up to do this. Or like a supine twist, like actually draw your knee up, then do this instead of just turning, so that you can actually feel the stretch. But yeah, it's the same thing with kip swings, where you're just like, some days you have to go like, do you understand now why it's important to keep this tighter? Because when you move on to the next thing, and sometimes they're like, yeah, I know, but their default isn't to actually do it the best way possible. It's just to like get through it. But yeah, I think you have to pick and choose day by day, like which movements am I really going to hammer home today, just because it's like, it is an hour.
Yeah. You're not trying to teach a seminar. And if you have 3 movements, you kind of, you got to be like, okay, today is not the day that I'm still going to coach and make corrections. And of course with double unders, but I really got to warm up that deadlift, and we really got to be about the deadlift. The deadlift and the push-ups are kind of accessories today, and that's why, like a movement like the push-up, on a lot of days, it'll just get boom, boom. It just kind of falls down because like there's bigger fish to fry. Like we should go through that muscle up progression. You're only going to do X amount of push-ups. Let's do them in the warm-up. And then I can say like, all right, make sure on your push-ups today, you do this, you coach it, you do all that stuff. But like, it's just kind of getting checked off along the way. You're not going to spend 10 minutes on the push-up, and then you got to spend all this other time in other movements. And now next thing you know, you're starting the workout at 55 after, and you're like, oh no, so yeah, you have to pick your battles with it. And then you have to kind of do like this threshold training, even still. So my question for you is threshold training only during the Metcon, or is it through the entirety of the class?
Yeah, and I think it is entirety, because I was even thinking, my question was more geared towards the like consistency, because they gave the scenarios, and it's so interesting sometimes watching some athletes some days, but set to set, where you're like, what were you even doing that set? And then like the next set, it's completely fine. Like every rep is fine. You give like your normal cues, but like something just clicks again, or like maybe it's like a focus thing with the athlete going into each set. Because sometimes it's like that weight shouldn't be difficult for you, and you completely cleaned it up. It's not even like there was a progression in the next set. It's like those sets were just night and day. I'm not even sure what changed there. Yeah, but I think that's in every movement, from the general warm up, like you said, with like push-ups or even sit-ups, like where you're reaching, how you're pulling your head through. Yeah, the kip swings for sure. Each thing can actually be like fully taught before you get to the next thing.
Oh yeah, you could spend so much time on just the kip swing, and like with like, is it like a full on class thing, like, and of course, like there's like the immediate example of like, okay, you're not going fast, you're going too perfect, you're going just right, you're going too much. But like if we just think about it like as like a grander concept, all right, like a couple minutes before class, you see that one athlete and you're like, oh, this is your workout. And then you're like, hey, what are you going to do? Well, let's try to push the reps here. Let's do this. Let's do that. Because you just know their general capacity. Then during the warm up, okay, like Maria and Nyla, like, hey, I want you to like when it feels hard, go for another push up and really test it. And then they're like grimacing and pushing hard, and we got stuff out of it. I would argue that's threshold training. They were like not doing enough before and making it too easy, and now like it's like no, we need to push here, and like even though it's just a warm up, or in your progression, maybe you got Josh or Mike in class and you're doing ring dips. Okay, well, a lot of people, you're just trying to get them from A to B and be stable, but you know that it's a little easier for them. So you add in a little turnout, you add in this little nuancy part of it that maybe is a part of the grander technique, but not like it's not like in the general progression of what you're doing. Or you add in a pause for them. Hey, when you get up here, I want you to pause and then slowly lower down. And then maybe you see something different out of them, or it just makes it like a little bit more challenging or opens up a new level for them. And now they're like, oh, this is valuable for me, instead of being like, well, why am I doing this? Like, I'm not even gonna be down here anyways. I'm gonna be up on the high rings, you know. I know there was one class when Jeremiah was still at the gym. He has some pull-ups. He's got like strength to do like a couple sets to get the number done, but he was really struggling with pushing away from the bar. So like for him during our progression, when we're like on that day when we're like, hey, we're going to spend a minute, you're going to bounce back and forth between you and your partner doing whatever we're doing here. I had him pause with his chin above the bar, and then from the pause, push back. And it's just because I knew he could do that. So when you have to know your athlete, but I knew he's strong enough to do that. And I also asked him, like, do you think you can pause at the top there? And he's like, well, let me see, coach. And then he does it. And then, okay, now what I want you to do is pause. And then that just lets him feel, oh, the disconnect to push away again. I can't do that with everybody. Some people they might get up there and they're gonna fall right down. And it's almost like they're not even ready for this part of the progression. You know, like to be able to do that is so hard, either physically or psychologically. It's scary.
Yeah.
To push away from the pull-up bar and be straight. But it worked for him. And then he's like, oh, I get it now. And I get what it's supposed to feel like. And then, I mean, of course, maybe that also means like I've seen a lot of things now. I think it's Pamela Gagnon that's been putting out a lot of stuff on like grab a PVC pipe and row it in and then practice doing that. Like, so here's how everybody can do it. And we do that on the floor. Then we go up, now try to do it here. But that was the motion. Actually, it wasn't her. It was one of the CrossFit training videos that they just put out not too long ago about, it shows, it's like one of those, like watch a level 4, do this. And it was watch a level 4.
I think I did see that. Yeah.
The chest to bar pull-ups. Was that the one? And she got the PVC pipes out. And I'm like, I can't remember the last time I've done that on a pull-up day. On like, let's go to the PVC for the pull-up. And like, all right, everyone pull it here. And then go around like no, move this, you know, like, oh, okay. And then like, yeah, that's what we're going to try to do up there. And then you could have everyone go low bar and then finally go up to the top bar. I'm like, oh, so all right, add that in. Let's next time we got to do that. Because like a lot of like with like coaching stuff is like, yeah, you gotta like look for stuff to steal. But like, oh, I'm gonna steal that. That's a great idea. Right. And it's like, because like you can't think of it all, you know. So you got to just be like, oh yeah, why didn't I ever use a band for that or this or that? So the consistency part of it in the article, there's two parts of it, and it's just consistently repeating sound mechanics. The athlete can do it over and over, and they can also recognize when things feel off. So like gaining that like that awareness. And then there's also, I really like this example of like consistently coming to the gym. Like that's a huge part of it too. And that's where you can kind of get in trouble, where it's like you have like really good athletes, or like even someone who's like taken a month off and they come back and like, well, yeah, Miguel had pull-ups when he left, but it's like, well, hold on now, he's taken a month off. Like, and he also has, because he had pull-ups when he left and had this fitness level, he also has the ability to overextend and hurt himself and do too much when coming back.
Yep.
So I thought that was a great example of an athlete coming in and actually starting to physiologically adapt over time. And then that's also part of the consistency. What'd you think about that?
Yeah, and I thought that was interesting too because they kind of talked about it in on both sides where it's a newer person who's coming in a few times a week, you might have to pull it back a little bit just because their body overall is getting used to the stimulus of like the high level. CrossFit can be shocking if you haven't been doing CrossFit, but you have an athlete who's been doing it for like 8 to 10 years, but you're like every few months you're gone for a little bit, you come back, and even your body, even though it's had years, you haven't been doing it consistently in a way that, we might still have to cut your reps because you're only coming in once a week. So,
Yeah.
we can't crush you the one time you're here, even though we might feel, and you might feel like, I'm only in here once. Like I want to do everything.
And it is discouraging to be debilitatingly sore, after that first class back a couple days. And then a lot of people get deterred from coming in. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who like eventually they're like, maybe they have a work constraint or something, but like they're like, I don't want to be really sore after this. I don't want to. You ever had someone tell you that? They're like, I don't want to be
Yeah.
really, really sore. And you're like, well, I'm going to do my best, but I can't promise you that. But we can still modify things in a certain way. But yeah, you take a week off, and who knows what happened during that week? Like at the beginning of their vacation, they fell on their butt and bruised their tailbone. But then by the time they get back to you, they completely forgot about that. They're not even bringing that up. They're like, oh, that was nothing. And it's not going to pop up as an issue until they're doing ab mat sit-ups and they're like, oh, that hurts or something's going on. So it's like, yeah, warm people up, move them in. And there's going to be another training day. We don't have to blow it out on any particular day. We have times when we do that, which is coming up with the Open. But even then, there still needs to be constraints. Like the Open is a competition, but we did have like and you want to let people play, right? That's part of the fun. Like this is supposed to be like adult fun. And there was a point last year though where like one of the movements was getting to the point where I'm like, if this happens again, you got to either be done or we're scaling it because like you're kind of defaulting now, or like you're pushing it way too hard. And it's like, okay, that's part of the Open. We want to really go beyond those limits and see if you can do it. But you've fallen too many times now where it's like, if we get even close on the next one, I have to pull the plug on you.
Yeah.
I think we talked about that last year, but the last part is the intensity part about it. I did think that it's kind of broken up into, athletes have this person intensity's earned, and athletes, he says it right here, athletes earned the right to be challenged with increased demands because they've gotten better at the mechanics and they've maintained those mechanics consistently. Without challenges, it says here, regardless of capacity level, athletes plateau and cease progressing. And that's when CrossFit stops being fun. And that's when people quit gyms and stuff like that. And it's like, even with scaling options, that's why you shouldn't be married to one scaling option. Like I may never be able to do XYZ, but if I come in and one time you have me do a variation of scaling with dumbbells, then the next time you have me do it with a wall ball, then the next time with rings, okay, at least there's a variety and there's a why and a reason, and it's not just like, oh, all right, there's the thing I can't do again. Let me just default to this thing. And this is the RX movement for me now, which individual timeline, daily implementation. What you think about what was discussed here for intensity?
Yeah, I think that's something that's been fairly clear, at least in that one sentence where it's like you have to earn it. Yeah, I think, and that looks different. I think earning it too is like for example, me coming back to CrossFit, like I can't always just pick something and then go completely in. Like I would even say when I did Linda, I would say that my speed of each clean rep was too fast. So I was breaking because I was moving too fast per rep. But as I slowed down the movement, I was able to hold on to the bar more. Like, does that make sense? Like
What
that's a little bit.
You're using that barbell club speed. You're pulling under it like it's 120.
Yeah, where that was like throwing me off, where, the weight wasn't heavy and it wasn't too many reps, but like my speed overall per rep was what was holding me back. Where as I slowed down each rep, it kind of let me hold on longer. And, so I guess like the intensity is sometimes just speed of rep. I was probably going faster in the workout once I slowed down that one move. So it's just interesting that people always think like intensity is just the speed.
Yeah.
It's so many different things. Like sometimes it is like it's holding on for more reps is sometimes what it is. Like it doesn't always mean also like you have to take weight off the bar or you have to do less reps. Sometimes it's just like doing the reps better is the intensity that you're going for there.
This is an interesting topic that you bring up with the reps. I mean, of course, I try to tell people like, hey, like it's 15 front squats. So if you want to get the most out of this workout today, pick a weight that allows you to do the 15. But then you might see like in the lesson plan, all right, they're like break it up into 1 to 3 sets. So if you do go to the person that's doing 5, 3, I think they're doing a whole different workout. And so you're, especially if the range is get it done between 8 minutes or 12 minutes. Well, I want you to do 15 and I want you to be closer to done to 8 minutes because we're going to do all this work in a very short amount of time. It's the Metcon. But if you use the other technique, that will get you closer to a slower workout. So now it's almost like I have 2 workouts, like with having these ranges that some of which is completely okay. Cause like if there's in the benchmarks article written by Greg Glassman, he talks about doing Diane with 7 sets of 3, 5 sets of 3, like to get those volumes and then do the handstand push-ups maybe that way or the same way. Especially if it's like your first time using the weight. But it almost does feel like those are 2 completely different things. I guess you could, in the case of Diane, say, are we training or are we testing? If we're testing, then okay, we want to be able to do it on like as close to unbroken as fast as possible. But if I was just training for Diane, doing just like a strength workout, okay, then that makes sense. I'm going to do 7 sets of 3 because 225 is heavy for me. I can't do 21 in a row with it, but I can develop the capacity in the long term to do it by training the deadlift right now with 7x3, 5x3, 9x9 or 3x3. So I don't know. Just sometimes I have been trying to push people more towards in the Metcon that intensity side of things, because I think that while there's 2 ways to go about it, like with the Diane example, I don't think that's what the cap workout is ultimately trying to do in this hour. So it seems like there's 2 conflicting messages going on here. And I might be giving 2 conflicting messages. If I say pick a weight that you can do 1 to 3 sets, but then I'm only focusing on hold on to it, then why was it even worth it for me to say do 3 sets? Or some people are going to hear that 1 to 3 and be like, 3, I like 3 better. So I'm not even going to try to do all 15 in a row. Or after I do 15 in a row on round 1 and I find out I don't like that at all, that sucked, I'm going to just purposely do 5 reps for 3 sets. I don't know. What do you think about this whole situation? I don't know if I'm getting it up the whole way I want to.
Yeah. And even if it's like, you can look at it again through the threshold, right? Where maybe they always move fast through a workout, even if they break it up, right? Like, let's say that this person is actually really good at fast singles. Okay, let's say that in your attributes like sliders, your speed is all the way maxed out, but your grip strength, your volume is still pretty low because you never trained that way. So sometimes it's just switching it up to maximize. Like intensity can be found in different ways.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna feel a different way holding on to that bar. Or if you are a person who always goes a little bit lighter even, or same weight, but they always, hold on to it the entire time, but their reps are a little bit slower. All right, now can you speed up those reps? What will you have to do in order to speed up those reps? I think it's like you can't be caught up doing the same exact thing every time. I think again, this whole thing is just getting away from comfortability.
Yeah.
So like you do something the same way every time and it feels fine. You got to make yourself a little bit uncomfortable to like then progress into the next thing.
Yeah. And I think most people, if you gave them a choice of a bunch of workouts, are going to pick the long, slow AMRAP, where even if you said we're trying to get 8 rounds, then they get 4 rounds because they're just kind of going out throughout it. It's if you do 15 front squats in a row, you're going to feel your core, you're going to feel your shoulders, you're going to feel your lungs, you're going to feel your legs burning way differently. And I wonder if probably with most people, if it's better to try to go that route versus like if you're in class and you're like, all right, I want to go after that RX weight, then I might be like, all right, well, how are we going to break this up? Because breaking up will let you actually go faster because you're going to put it down, pick it back up to get through that weight. But most people who are already scaling by like 70 pounds, it's like, well, you should just hold on to it and get better at front squats and maintain the range of motion. And it's going to be intense for you that way. Miguel, even dropping it, is still going to be done 8 to 9 minutes. It's still not going to take him that much longer because his time between sets is going to be managed. He has the discipline to be like, nope, 5, 4, 3, here we go. It's kind of like when you see the games athletes, it's kind of like my Noah Olsen complaint from the games on like, why didn't he just rep it out, just drop it?
Yeah.
It's like, all right, well, it is an appropriate strategy for him. But if I'm doing it with 55 pounds, I'm resting a lot, which maybe I should just scale the weight or scale a position and feel what it's like to do it while holding on to it.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's fun. It's so fun. Well, maybe not fun, but it's an interesting concept to think about on like, there's just so many ways that you can go through this. And then they have the daily implementation here of the article, which I just say during warm-ups, assess and coach proper movement, execute under low stress, and then slowly build, including like the practice rounds, which we've talked about practice rounds, and everyone hates a practice round, but it's like sometimes you're using it just for logistics. Other times you're using it to be like, no, that is going to take you a little bit too long. On that second round of burpees, I saw you slow down. So what's going to happen when we magnify that up to 40 and 40? Let's do this. Threshold training. Then we have the scenarios. I did find the scenarios interesting, especially with the heavy day thing. All right, I get it. Like you may only front squat heavy once a month or once in a blue moon. So in a CrossFit sense, it does make sense to push it heavy, but within the threshold and to have that rep or two. I also think about the weightlifting side of this, where it's like a long-term progression will also yield results. Like if in a perfect world, if every week you could always be adding a kilo, at a certain point, you will also reach the ability and meet those weights at the same time if the linear progression keeps going. Like there's but it says we don't use really linear progressions like that in CrossFit too much. But it's like, I don't know. I wouldn't see having someone do, if they're going to do front squats like in barbell club week to week, having them do them perfect every single time. But we've increased the weight for 52 weeks and they've gone up 52 kilos, but they're still doing it perfect. I don't think that that's holding them back at all. Yeah, I don't know. This is where I kind of have like not a conflict. I guess it's just a different method, right? On doing
Yeah,
the
I guess
same
it's
thing.
more in the article, it's definitely very simplified. And I think it just kind of draws in more questions um, of like, what exactly does this look like? Because again,
Mhm.
yeah, if you're doing 5x5 front squats in a CrossFit class, you're like, when are we doing this again? Um, so maybe that's why they're kind of like, get to a point where maybe it's starting to look difficult on some of these or one or two of the reps.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Because
I don't know.
both scenarios are going to shy away from athlete C. You're folded
Yeah,
over, the form is horrible, both of them. But you could take the athlete A person and just expand them over time. And that's going to be the person where people see them at the meet and they're like, holy cow, is that what it's supposed to look like? And they're also still strong and have a high
yeah,
capacity. Or you could do it the B way. And I think the B way works. So like of course the A person who's like a weightlifter or a specialist, this because we have specialists and non-specialists, they're going to do it that way and reach a high level with it over time. Athlete B, they may be only doing front squats once every 2 months or something when they pop up, but they're also doing pistols, they're doing lunges, they're doing wall balls, they're doing a back squat here and there, air squats. So it's like the squat is always being worked on and just pushed and challenged in different ways, where you would be able to do that.
yeah.
Although,
Uh,
yeah, I guess in the long term, I wouldn't say that athlete A is necessarily a bad thing in some
no,
situations. You know.
but I think you said something earlier too about like a knowledge of when your form is degrading.
Hmm.
And I do think it's important because obviously we don't know much about athlete A, but like as long as athlete A knows what that's like, it knows that they're like close to a point and not just
Yeah.
going to class. Like if we were doing 5x5 front squats in a CrossFit class and I was doing in pounds like 135 each time, and you're like, it
Yeah.
looks great. And I'm like, yeah, it feels okay. And I just leave it at that instead of like, but I know like an athlete B, like they'll know like, all right, things to feel a little bit iffy when I get up to around these weights. I think that the knowledge itself is what's valuable.
Yeah.
Um, so if athlete A isn't showing like any degradation in form, but they're knowledgeable about like where their level is at, it can still be beneficial. Because I mean, like you're not begging for them to like get close to failing every time, but you want them to at least have the awareness of like, are you at least at a number that's beneficial to you?
Yeah. And I think athlete A will reach threshold eventually. Like if you just start them off as a beginner and then you are going to do like add 5 pounds or however many for weeks on end, they will reach it eventually. And then eventually you'll test them and have them test it. And they'll find that point where they can't do it anymore. And then they'll bail on it. And like, that's never happened before, you know? And then as they improve and gain like knowledge of themselves as an athlete, they'll know how to push through that too. But I think it's like no one is actually ever going to do the let's add 1 kilo every week for forever,
Yeah.
unless they're a kid. If I had a 12-year-old, I would totally do that. It'd just be every week. Oh, it's 13 kilos this week. It's 14 kilos, and you just keep it going for as long as you can until they're old enough when you can like do other things with them. But if you have like an adult, they're mid 20s, they get it pretty quickly. They're getting good form. You're stretching them out, all that stuff. Then eventually you can kind of like bump them up, and then they're going to have like harder working sets, and it would still be maybe not the once a month thing. Like think about like when we follow like a cycle where it's like, all right, week 1, it's hard, but like it's okay for all of you guys to look pretty, and no
Yeah.
one's bleeding, crying, or screaming yet, but that's coming in the weeks later, and you guys know that it's coming. And you can definitely see like at meets, you definitely see at meets athletes that don't go through that. You ever notice that at a weightlifting meet where you're like, I don't know if you're training hard enough, you didn't fight for that at all.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's kind of like us with our pauses. Right now we have an on-ramp of pause back squats to get us eventually to pause front squats, where it's going to change real quick. Oh boy.
Yeah.
It's going to be a different animal. We're weeks away from that. But those pauses in the front squat, boy, do they open up strength, Miguel. Boy, do they do it. They definitely, if there's any weak points in that portion of your jerk or anything, holding that bar there is gonna open up mobility. It's gonna do a lot. Even just mentally, it's gonna do a lot. Like if you've done that in training and you get like not comfortable with it, but like you develop the strength and capacity to push through it, you get buried on a clean, you stand up with it. It's like, how are jerks supposed to be hard anymore? You've had 50 extra kilos just here for 15 seconds, 12 seconds. Then you had to fight for your life to get that front squat done. So it's going to be good. I'm excited for it.
Yeah. Yep.
We'll see. Any other thoughts on the threshold training, or just finding the sweet spot with athletes? Has this changed how reading this, how you might kind of approach things a little bit in classes, or maybe you're already doing this,
Yeah, I would say overall, I think it was a reminder of there's more ways than one to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know like a lot of athletes don't like to be slowed down or, something like that, but you can frame it differently, and 2, you can find a different thing for them to focus on. That's still, I would say intensity is still, the goal.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do know that threshold training is one of the things that a lot of people that fail the level 4 exam or evaluation lose points there, or lose points on the workout starts, and maybe they're not coaching as much as they should be. And in rethinking the evaluation, what I do wish I would have done differently would be to have a way more streamlined progression. Like maybe for some things, just three steps, and then of course coach the heck out of those, because you're going to do a little extra coaching than you think that you would need to, just because you also don't know what's going on over there. How many reps do you want to see? I have to coach everyone. There's 12 of them. So of course, if you add more steps, that's going to magnify the time. So I wish I would have thought like, okay, I have 12 people. If I have 5 steps and I want to definitely try to coach all of them, how long is this going to take? Way longer than a regular class would take, because you would just be way faster. But I know they want to see me go down the line, or at least I'm assuming that's what they want.
Yeah.
I would cut that part down dramatically to also save time, and to also be able to put even more focus on coaching in the workout. And it's not like that I wasn't coaching during the workout. It's just thinking back on it, I could see like, no, that wasn't it. That wasn't what the evaluation, but it's hard because like with that evaluation, you also, you kind of have to put in your brain, what do I think the evaluation is? Like you kind of have to like create one in your head. So that's what I did based off of people that I've talked to and things that I've read. I'm like, all right, I think this is what the test is. So this is what I'll do. And now thinking back on it, I'm like, no, I don't think that's what it was. I think they didn't want to see long drawn out progressions for the sake of watching you coach those steps. And can you do that? I think what they wanted was a more natural flow. But it's hard to do that when you're like, I don't know I know what I'm doing here, but I also don't know what I'm doing here. So I'm going to do what I think you know, what I think you want to see, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's a key to that, you know? So if I were to do it again, or eventually if I do it again, if whenever they announce it, if it's the same format, I don't know. I've heard a lot of different things. I would do quick general warm up that allows me to showcase coaching versus just time and body management. I would have shorter, streamlined progressions and pick one thing that's going to kind of be the centerpiece versus all of them, which is another thing. I'm like, well, I have to spend 10 minutes on this, but then I have to spend 10 minutes on this and then 10 minutes on that. And then my classes went over. And then so more streamlined. One thing is clearly the main thing where it's going to get a little more attention, and then approach the actual Metcon coaching way differently.
Yeah.
So, and so that's I think that that's not only what the exam wants. I think that's what I think that's what like we're all kind of trying to get to do in the classes. I don't know. Does it seem like I'm missing any part of that?
No, that makes sense to me.
Because if you do it that way, you're going to finish on time, right? And you're going to also coach all of those elements. You're going to coach the warm-up, specific warm-up, the Metcon, the build-up, the practice rounds. You're going to coach the cool down. Everything fits neatly and nicely. And it was just enough of everything. I kind of feel like I mean, of course, they want you to give a little more than just enough in the evaluation. And you have to make sure that they see things. You got to be like this even more robust version of what your hour is. But in the general classes that we're all trying to teach efficiently, you want it to be all of the things. And you can only have it be all the things if you spend the appropriate amount of time on all the things. Like, all right, this doesn't have to be Miguel's handstand workshop. We also have to get to wall balls and other things. So when were you going to do that? That should have been in the to make it all fit seamlessly and flowy from start to end, and have that perfect symphony of the scaling is just right for you, so that you can meet the stimulus and the expectations and find your threshold. And it's the same for that person and that person, the same as it would be if we were just meeting one-on-one and I planned only for you.
Yeah.
To do it with the group. We're all chasing that weightless moment, that one moment in coaching the class, you know. On and so this would be something for you to kind of think about, and for for Shaf and Josh to think about, and for me to think about too. On when you coach a class, did it feel like from start to finish, when you find that unicorn feeling on the perfect snatch, when everything just aligns and you're like, man, everybody listened today, and probably the reason they listened today is because you communicated so perfectly what you wanted them to do, right?
Yeah.
That's the same thing as having perfect balance on the snatch. It's like maybe a lot I'm pretty sure I'm speaking English, and I know some of you guys are gonna have your antics, but maybe I said it in a way so streamlined and perfectly that it doesn't matter if you had your antics. It still worked. You still did the thing. So it's like we're trying to find that perfect class, and that perfect class is the class that you pass the level 4 evaluation with. Like, you are looking for that, and they're looking for you to do that, your most perfect lift possible. You got to do it twice. But so just to kind of draw it all back to the beginning, have you ever thought about a class kind of like in that sense of just and have you coached one where you're like you're driving home, you're like, holy shit, I don't know who that was, I don't know what happened, but that was, I'm so happy with that one. Have you done any
I think
of those
it's just
yet?
A few where I've left and I'm like, that was good. That was actually my legitimate plan, which often, even though it's like things don't go fully off the rails, but you're like, no, everything that I imagined would happen, or even things that were kind of you weren't expecting but ended up working out really well, and you're like, I was able to show this efficiently. Everyone scaled appropriately. We got through everything in a timely manner. It felt like everything was intentional. Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. Everybody laughed at your jokes. The whole
Right. Yeah.
the whole thing. Yeah. I think I've had maybe three or four classes, and like most of them, like I remember them. Like I remember what the workout was and like who was class and whatnot. And I'm like, man, that was the one. I wish I could have filmed that one and showed it to people. And it's like that's everything I'm trying to do. So yeah, and I do. So I do think too that like I think you can only get there if you're the coach that like just goes to deep dive in. You're always curious. I think if you're the coach, and I'm not talking about anybody in particular, but if you are a coach and are in the mindset of like, why do I even need to know that? I don't think you can ever reach the flow state. I don't think that's the same as the athlete being like, why do I have to do these reps at the bar? I just want to put weight on, man. Oh, you're never going to get it, are you? I think just to kind of draw us full circle here, I could be wrong, but I don't know. What do you think? I don't think that person ever actually gets there, because how will they ever know? How will they ever know? Oh, that was it. That was the class I've been trying to coach.
Mm-hmm.
And if I could, I'd make them all like that, regardless of the movements and who comes. I don't think you can. I don't think you'll have the ability to even know. And that's like when you watch, like if you were just watching a random gym that you're visiting, maybe you're done with class, you're stretching, and you're watching, and you're like, I don't even know if they know that they're not seeing some of the things that I'm seeing over here from my foam roller, And of course, it is always easier to look out than being in it.
Yeah.
But it's like, but you can kind of tell where you're like, they don't even know, They need to get more curious. They need to spend more time nerding out and deep diving on this stuff and gaining experience in hours. And especially if you only coach like 1 hour, 2 hours a week, this extra time spending outside of it, at least being immersed in some of it, that's all you got to add up, to put towards more experience, and then thinking about what you would do. So cool. Fun topic today. I really liked this article, and I kind of like, that's why I wanted to I mean, it just happened to be I watched the movie, but like all these things kind of like came in. I'm like this is this article essentially, on all these things. Miguel, any closing thoughts on all of it?
No, don't think so.
Yeah, me neither. I think we've said it all. Well, probably I'm going to put it up tomorrow, so we'll be in the middle of the snow apocalypse. Maybe people can pop this on while they're plowing snow or shoveling.
Yeah.
or just don't go outside. Just don't do it. But it is getting really bad out there. I would definitely not drive on this. So if anyone has to go out there or is out there, hopefully that they're safe. That's all we can do. We can pray for everyone's safety and smart decisions. But, cool. Well, Miguel, where can people follow you?
At Couldn't Be Miguel on Instagram.
Couldn't Be Miguel. Follow me, James A. McDermott, Albany CrossFit, Albany CrossFit Barbell Club, all those places. And we'll be back again next week.
Yep.
All right. End stream.